Hello everyone, bringing you another video today in the series looking at British and Commonwealth forces during the Korean War, and today we're going to be looking at New Zealand forces. Now, New Zealand had almost immediately sent naval forces to Korean waters on the outbreak of hostilities, but it was not until late July that a decision was taken to commit troops, to commit ground forces. And it was decided that the New Zealand commitment would be formed from an artillery regiment, 16th Field Regiment Royal New Zealand Artillery, along with some supporting units, men drawn from the Royal New Zealand Army Service Corps, Royal New Zealand Signals and so forth. And this unit became known as K-Force, primarily the artillery regiment, but with some supporting units as well. K-Force sailed from Wellington on the 10th of December 1950. K-Force did not arrive in Korea until New Year's Eve of 1950-51, but they did enter the field very soon after arriving, and they joined the 27th British Commonwealth Brigade, the Woolworth Brigade, which had obviously been sent from Hong Kong with just 2 infantry battalions. 3 RAR had joined to make up the 3rd Infantry Battalion, and the addition of artillery support was very much welcomed. What we're going to be looking at in this video is a recreation of a gunner of 16th Field Regiment Royal New Zealand Artillery, part of K-Force, on the dockside in Wellington, about to depart for Korea on the 10th of December 1950. K-Force was formed from volunteers. Many of the men were veterans of the Second World War. And as you can see here, the uniform and equipment is basically that used during the Second World War. And as said, this represents men embarking from Wellington, bound for Korea with their full kit. There's an excellent video available on YouTube talking about K-Force, its formation, its training, and showing its embarkation for the voyage to Korea, and I'll put a card to that in the corner of the video here, should you wish to go and have a look at that. Some excellent period footage. But getting into looking at the recreation here now, we can see the weapon carried is the rifle number 4. New Zealand had adopted this rifle during the Second World War, and as you can see, as was the case in the video considering 29 Brigade embarking for Korea, the bayonet is fixed to the rifle with the scabbard over the spike, ready for the weapon to be stored aboard ship. Looking at the uniform, we'll start at the top as usual, and we can see here a khaki beret with brown leather sweatband, with the Royal New Zealand Artillery cap badge, this being a miniature version for wear on the beret. Some men, a very few, can be seen wearing the full-size cap badge on the beret. Most of them are wearing this miniature version, and it's worn on a diamond-shaped black backing, as you can see here. And this backing was a common identifier for the men of K-Force. The basic uniform is, of course, battle dress, the blouse and trousers from the battle dress suit. A caveat here, this is British-made battle dress rather than being New Zealand-made, but it is representative of the pattern produced in New Zealand and worn at this time. The battle dress pattern essentially follows that of original British battle dress serge. However, the collar of New Zealand battle dress was lined, and in some instances the collar closed with a tab and a button rather than the hooks and eyes, although some New Zealand battle dress was manufactured with hooks and eyes at the collar, which made it very, very similar to British manufactured battle dress. On each arm of the battle dress, national titles are worn, with New Zealand embroidered in white on a black backing. These are commonly seen worn on loops on the epaulets of uniform during the Second World War and after, but footage and photographs of K-Force show them sewn onto the battle dress just below the shoulder seam, as we see here. 1937 pattern web equipment is worn in a broken down form. The belt is worn at the waist, as you can see here. On the right hip, the haversack is carried on a single brace, and to the rear we can see the pack is carried. This is simply carried on the L-straps without them being clipped into anything else on the web equipment. You can see that the supporting straps here are carrying the Mark II steel helmet, and on top of the pack underneath these straps the ground sheet is also rolled up and carried. This is one variation. If you look at the original footage, which I've already linked to in a card previously in the video, you'll see a great variation in the way things were carried. Some men actually carrying helmets hooked onto the rifles by the chin strap, some men carrying the ground sheet folded underneath the flap of the pack, some just carrying it in the straps like this. There are actually quite a lot of variations in the way the men are carrying their kit. In addition to the load carried in the web equipment, we can also see that in the left hand, a small white kick bag with a draw cord is carried. This seems to be fairly unique to New Zealand service, and it's something that shows up very clearly in the original footage as well. Footwear consists of black leather pebble grain ankle boots, and these are worn with anklets, the anklets associated with the 1937 pattern web equipment. The boots lack a toe cap, as you can see here, but the uppers are otherwise very similar to the British General Service boot, the ammo boot, and these boots are in fact very similar to those issued to the Royal Navy and indeed the Royal Air Force. So there we are, that's a look at this recreation of a gunner of 16th Field Regiment, Royal New Zealand Artillery, the point of embarkation in Wellington, heading for Korea. We'll catch up with 16th Field Regiment on arrival in Korea at some point early in the new year, hopefully in another video. So there we are. I hope you found it interesting looking at that. We'll probably catch up with 16th Field Regiment in a future video, probably early in the new year, looking at the kit worn once in country. Not a huge amount of difference, but obviously the webbing and so forth worn in a rather different manner. But that's a topic for a future video. If you'd like to see that and you'd like to see more in this series, then please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the little notification button down below. That will, of course, alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you'd like to support the channel, you can. There's Patreon and PayPal linked down below. And a huge thank you, as ever, to everybody who supports the channel using those two methods. Thank you very much, everyone. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, you can. There's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter all linked down below. And if you'd like to make contact but you don't really use social media, there is, of course, an email address down there as well. But that's everything for this video. So until next time, bye for now.